Hi everyone, welcome back to another scrapbook layout and thank you for joining me again today. Today I am following another sketch by Scrapbook Generation, and I don't know which sketch this one came from, which sketchbook or anything. It was just one that I had nearby. So I do apologize for that, but it's a fairly simple one to follow if you want to do something similar. One thing I did notice while I was doing this sketch is it has a whole lot of similarities to the page that I just did using these same scraps. It's going to have a main central area down in the bottom left and a little cluster up in the top right. And so I thought that was rather interesting. And I do apologize for the Band-Aid. I did cut my finger, and so I find that kid Band-Aids fit the best, and I know they're not the funnest thing to look at, but you know, you got to do what you got to do, right? So I am trimming these papers, and I want to say they are 2 inches by 6 inches, at least most of them. This one is smaller, but I really wanted to use that text pattern paper. I've been wanting to use it since I pulled these scraps out, and it just hasn't worked for what I've done so far. But what I figured I would do is, because I would just cut it in half, because the majority of it's going to go behind the photos anyway. Same thing with this kind of plaid paper. I actually ended up cutting more strips than it calls for in the sketch, and I think I decided I don't like that blue one with the kind of chevron pattern piece on it, so I'm not even going to bother inking the edges. I am inking my edges with my gray wool close to my heart ink, and honestly I think that my ink could be running out because it seems like I really have to tap my ink blending tool onto the ink pad quite a bit to try to get, you know, a good inking. So I might be in the market for a different gray ink, but I have to check, see what I have. But anyways, this is pretty much how the sketch looks. I think their sketch also calls for 4 pieces. I really wanted to use more of that measuring tape pattern paper. I really like that paper, and sorry I just knocked my camera there. And it was like the one that I had the most 6-inch strips of anyway, and so it kind of has to go. Since I'm using 2 of the same, I'm kind of putting it on the outsides, and it looks good in the end. I'm not too crazy about it as I'm gluing it down, just because it's such a bright prominent yellow. I don't want everything else to get lost. But you can also see there where I took that one pattern paper that's kind of with the words and different things and put it and just cut it in half. And I don't even know if it's still like a 6-inch, but I just made it so I liked the look. The sketch also calls for some 1/4-inch stripe strips, surprise, surprise, with Scrapbook Generation, don't they all? So I didn't have a full 6-inch. I thought originally I was thinking maybe I would cut down that border sticker, but I didn't like the pattern of that border sticker that was there. I just, compared to what I already had down, I just wasn't feeling it. So I cut a bunch of these strips, and I figured I could just make them whatever length, and I'm not even going to worry about them being the full 6 inches or longer than 6 inches. I'm just going to glue them down wherever I feel. I do follow closely what they have on the sketch, but I don't worry about how long they are, if that makes any sense. The only one I'm going to pay attention to is the one on the end, because it's going to go behind that photo, but it's going to kind of show up a little bit more of it. So I do have to make sure that you can't see where the 2 parts meet. I did go ahead, and since I didn't know how many I was going to be using, I put my little thin scrappy tape on the back of each one, just thinking I thought I would end up using them all, to be honest, but then I figured, well, why use the full thing, because I can just cut these in half, because they were so long and I had already glued my photos down that I figured I would have to figure out how to tape them down, or, you know, since they were so long. The one thing I did forget to do at this point was the stenciling, because I had planned to do more of the stenciling like I did in the last layout, just because I thought it turned out really good. But also the other thing, this cluster is fairly close to what they have on the sketch, although I use a tag and not a journaling box, but they do also have like a tiny strip of pattern paper up there. Not too crazy about the strip of pattern paper, but in the end it turns out looking fine. You don't even really notice it. And also at this point, I'm not really that crazy about the striped strips of paper in with those 2x6s anyway. They just kind of look funny to me, maybe because they're too dark or something. I don't know, but I knew that this was the type of layout that I would normally frame. So again, I'm just going to take my ruler, and I don't know if you can tell in between each line, I just move it slightly, and I try to make sure that it's not straight each time so that it will kind of just have this look of two wonky lines that aren't like total scribbly. Here's where I remembered the stencil that I wanted to use. It's the same one that I used in the last video. And again, there are some places that I'm going to make it darker and push harder and get more ink. And there are some places I'm just going to go a little bit lighter and just kind of tap. And just sometimes I do that to make it fade out a little bit. Just, you know, so there's no, I'm trying not to make it look real circly or real square-like when I use this stencil. I love, this is probably my most used stencil of all time. So again, I will, if I can find a link below, I will gladly add one, but it is an older stencil. Although it's Tim Holtz, and a lot of things he comes out with is very grungy, so there's lots of stencils that he makes that would probably have the same look. I did really like this 4x6 card. I tried adding it there, and looking at it on the camera, actually it does not look too bad. I loved what it said, but I'm just not, I can't get it to work. And I also really liked this measuring tape sticker, but because the measuring tape paper was there, it just wasn't going to work either, so I gave up on that. I did find this sticker, and I really like this sticker because it says remodeling, and it's like a saw. And no, my son does not have a saw in this picture or anything, but I thought it was cute because that's what we were doing. This was still more of the remodeling pictures. This was after the walls were up, and I don't really know what my son is doing in these pictures. I'm not going to add journaling again to this page. I don't feel like it needs it. However, this is part of when we were remodeling, and so I thought that saw was perfect for that. So I added some foam tape on the saw, and honestly I think I might end up only adding foam tape behind the saw, and for a while I thought it looked a little funny, but I'm not even going to worry about it. So I'm pulling out more of those same die cuts that I had from the last video. That is a die that I have that, let me tell you, this die just does not work very well. It took a lot. I was amazed that I could get it, but I wanted to use it in more of these clusters because I figured I'd already cut them out and I still had them there. So I went ahead and added those behind the clusters as well. And then I didn't really know what I wanted for a title, but I picked up this tag sticker, and the tag sticker is not one that I normally would have used, but it had this saying here that I'm just fussy cutting out, and it says under construction. And so I'm going to cut that out, and I'm going to add it above the photos, and that's going to basically be my title. I feel like it brings the yellow around. It was super easy to cut out, especially since the ends of it were kind of like, almost look like washi tape when you tear it. They were kind of that up and down, not straight cut look. So I added that there to the top of the photos, and that is going to be my title. And so then last video I used my Xyron to glue down these little die cut pieces, but this time I just took like my Lawn Fawn glue, and knowing that there was going to be other things on top of them, like these stickers here, that I finally used up that word handsome. I thought that was perfect. I just added a little bit of glue underneath some of the spots. I didn't worry about covering it all because once it's in the page protector, it's not going to move, so I'm not worried about it. This one I did cut in half so that it would reach down further, so that it would be like a bigger part of the cluster rather than just coming out of the top where it says hard hat area. So I really like that. Getting those glued down. That top right tag is, I really liked that because it says project plans and then it says date started, and I think I just put 2009 because I don't remember the actual start date, although I do have pictures of them starting, so I probably could have looked it up, but I didn't care. I wrote 2009 and it's kitchen remodel, and then it says end date, and I just put a bunch of question marks because I thought, come on, do our husbands ever really finish a project? There's still a few things here in 2020 that could be done in that kitchen. So I just put question marks in that spot, and I really liked that. And then I took that caution minute work that I tried cutting off that journaling card. I just cut it down to just say that part, and then I fussy cut out that hammer, which again was super easy because part of it was sticking out from above the part where it like is actually stuck to the tag, and so I basically used up a lot of my scraps, even though I fussy cut pieces out. So I wanted some little extra things to add around, so I took out this punch that I recently got at Tuesday morning and just put some stars everywhere. And here are a few close-ups. This was a super quick layout. Again, I love it. Thank you for joining me. The rest of the scraps that I had from this, I actually took a picture of, and it is the very last picture. So if you're interested in seeing what was left over and what I basically got rid of, it's the very next picture. So thank you for joining me. I hope you like this layout as much as I did. This was a lot of fun to use up these scraps. So all right, everyone, have a great day. See you next time. Bye.